open up your new element and check it out, because it could look like this. GE does a lousy job in packing for shipping. Too bad. This is what my stovetop looks like. My middle element is burned out. Now it could be the middle element, which also includes a thermal switch, and also you will have to check out that switch, this switch, and this switch, provided the middle element isn't burned out. In my case, the middle element proved to be burned out, so I didn't have to go any farther. Here's where you find your model number, and you have to check out if your flexible conduit is long enough. If not, you'll have to free it up a little bit or disconnect it, which I didn't have to. Also, check out if there are any straps underneath that are holding down the stove top. Now we'll turn off the switches. That'll turn off both legs of the electricity. Now, since some old houses, they'll have a box like this, and you just remove this one as a rule for the stove and the oven. Here are a few tools that I use, and I use a little stick right there. I put that underneath the stove top so I don't get my fingers pinched later on. Then I take this, I'll use that 2-4 to put it under to hold up the stove, and then that's a short nose Phillips, long Phillips, and a nut driver, which is about a 1/4 inch. It is a 1/4 inch, and a 1/4 inch wrench, and the nose pliers, and a putty knife, and my meter, and another 2x4, and that's another stick that I put underneath the stove there, so I don't get my hands pinched underneath when I try to raise it up later on. The stove top will have to be raised up about 6 inches, so I put this slat underneath there and both sides so I can get my fingers underneath it so they don't slam back down on me. Here I slip the 2x4s on each side of the stove top. There are 6 screws in the front and 6 screws in the back and 2 in the side with the Phillips screwdriver, which is about a 1/4 inch metal tap screws. Here you'll have to move the top away from the side and get the back screw. Now you have to remove all the knobs, and some of them will get stubborn like this back one here. I had to use my putty knife and the wedge and make sure you don't get too much damage on the stove. The bottom part of the stove top and the top part is held by double face Scotch tape, so I use my putty knife to go around the edges to loosen it up. Now I can remove my glass portion of the stove top. Now I have to remove all my connections from this element just in order to test it. Now I'm going to check the continuity of the element with my meter. The continuity test fails, so looking at my element I couldn't see the problem. Then I start probing around and I found it. I remove the old element just by pulling it up. Here is the old element, and this portion that I'm pointing to has to be removed from the old and installed on the new. Here is the old element on the back side, and you'll notice that there are 2 brackets on each side that are held down by a tap metal screw that is about a 1/4 inch long. Before you remove these screws, mark the corresponding numbers with a felt pen so you can reinstall them on the new element in the same location. They get reinstalled on these posts, and make sure you don't lose these pins. They're very important. This is the underside of the stove top. Now when you replace the screws that you first removed, this is where they go. When you replace them, just put them just snug, not over tightened, period. Now we got to turn it on, and we're going to try and turn it on to the new element, which is in the middle, and see how that works. It's working, that's good. So we will turn it for the both elements work. Turn it on. And it is glowing. So the job is done perfectly. By the way, we did not have to send the damaged element back to the manufacturer or the distributor, and it didn't cost me any extra money either. If the 78-year-old person like myself can do it, so can you.